everybody. Well, thank you for joining us on the third and final webinar of the Master Data Readiness Series about decoding the hype around master data readiness, and governance strategy and execution. Just a reminder, the session is going to be recorded. By continuing to stay on, you are giving us the permission to do so. As a quick introduction, my name is Jakob and Feroz. I am the account manager here at Bluestonex, and I'm happy to be joined by Feroz. Feroz, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Feroz Khan. I'm the co-founder of Bluestonex and the product owner for our Micro MDM solution. Thank you. Good to meet you all.
Thank you, Feroz. So a quick breakdown of the agenda. So we're going to run through what makes and breaks an SAP data migration project, talk about the importance of data governance, talk about building scalable governance strategies, talk about what happens when strategy will meet your execution, give you some actionable next steps to improve and prepare for your data migration and improve your governance before we move into a Q&A. For those of you who joined the series of webinars, you may already know Bluestonex, but I'll take you through a very, very quick introduction of us. So we are a SAP certified BTP partner. We provide BTP managed services. We provide a lot of integrations with services and different integrations between SAP and third-party platforms, as well as some Fiori app development services as well. We're one of only 2 UK-based members in the SAP App House network. This is a group that follows a design thinking approach and methodology to solve business challenges with a real focus around human-centered design. And we also have our own suite of solutions for master data management, which help you cater for your master data readiness, governance, cleanliness, etc. A quick recap of the series and the journey we took to get to today's session. So we initially started this series by decoding the hype, by talking about what SAP's future means for your data, addressing the many SAP acronyms, and clarifying what those mean for you and your data. We then talked about the business impact of bad data, addressing the risk in your business and its impacts on different projects. And finally today, we're going to talk about getting your master data ready for a migration project, whether that's through governance, strategy, and execution. And we'll address that pathway to more accurate, actionable, and effective data in your range of projects across the business. So let's start off with a very quick recap from the last webinar of the importance of data readiness and data quality. So in the modern day SAP world, data quality is everything. Every migration you make to new versions of a system, like S/4HANA, every upgrade you make to newer versions of products, things like that, the biggest trigger that causes these projects to fail is poor data quality. SAP released a statistic that 80% of AI projects failed due to bad data. And with the growth of AI in SAP across business, it's important to remember that AI can only learn and therefore is only as good as the data provided. So we'll take a very quick pulse check around the room. What kind of challenges do you face in data migration? What are your main challenges? Just pop those into the prompt that Jack set up for you guys, and we'll see them. Feroz, you may have to read any out just because I don't have a vision now. I'm sharing my screen.
It's loading at the moment. Jack, did you put out those topics there? Yeah, so on the pulse check, data quality, volume of the data, importance of data, duplicate data, messy data. Yeah, 5 responses so far.
Yeah, all common things we come across on a day-to-day basis, and things we'll be addressing throughout the webinar. So glad to hear that people are, well, not glad to hear people have gone through the challenges, but glad to hear people are relating to the journey at least. So that runs, and we can speak on some more, but let's talk a little bit about what can make or break a data migration project. So I think a good example, Feroz, would be in your experience. I know you've put together a bit of a list, but what for you makes or breaks data migration projects, and what can typically go wrong before we do move into that list?
Yeah, that's my favorite topic, Jacob, these days, because I get involved with a lot of these rescue missions where the data migration has horribly gone wrong, and then we have been called upon to rescue it. So
Mhm.
first of all, I think the biggest mistake I've seen business do it, they think data migration is an IT and SAP project.
Mhm.
I've seen some big S4 transformation projects where there is just a line in the project plan says data extraction and data load, which in my view doesn't do justice to the bigger topic of data migration. So it has to be owned by the business, and it needs a bigger coverage. It needs a stream on its own for it to do it justice. And there is a simple checklist, based on my experience. I've tried to break it down. As I said, I can sit here and talk for hours on what could go wrong and what you should do it. So I've put down some simple checklists. If you go on to the next slide. So here is my very simple checklist based on some of the experiences or the rescue missions I've been involved in. Now, the biggest challenges I've seen is businesses don't know what the SAP data means. So there is a big piece of education that needs to happen on data. I mean, if you are especially doing an S4 transformation project, that's the right time to involve your business and educate them. They are used to SAP data, but probably half of them don't know what that field does in SAP. And part of the problem is SAP is complex, so you might have to break it down to a language that the business can understand. And typically, when we are in SAP project, we always talk about SAP fields and SAP data attributes. We need to start to break it down into more business language so they can identify. The other issue I've seen is um, especially if it's an S4 transformation project or moving on to a new SAP system, companies are only looking at extracting the data, doing a little bit of data cleanse, and just pushing it. Now, to me, identifying an inactive and active is should be one of the topmost checklist item in your data migration project. It's not easy, but I think it's worth doing it. You should identify inactive, active objects, whether it's materials, customers, general ledger accounts, cost center, profit center, anything. It applies to all the master data objects. And then you go on to standardizing the object name, because this is again a very important topic. And I don't see a lot of emphasis been put on. And I can understand in some of the areas it's not so easy to change the descriptions of certain objects. Like, for example, material master, if you're talking about, it's not easy to go and just change the description of it. Or it's not easy and go and change the description of a GL account or an equipment, but it's worth doing it. And why you should be doing this? Then that helps you to identify duplicates. I've seen the other way around. I've seen customers trying to run an AI algorithm or something, clever logics or fuzzy search to identify duplicates. But if your names are not standardized, then it's a pointless exercise, because then you won't be able to capture your duplicates properly. Or even if you identify duplicates, the moment you do the standardization, you might end up with more duplicates. So that's a very common mistake that one should avoid doing it. And then once you've done a bit of a cleanse, then start to identify some rules right at the early stage. Data completeness again is an important one, again overlooked. My suggestion is don't ignore, try and challenge business, try and get the data. Just don't think it's missing and it's not required. It might be required in S4. So that's why I was saying this should not be seen as an IT project. This should not be seen as a project for someone, a data analyst, to just extract and push it. There needs to be some business ownership. And most important, start thinking about long-term data governance, because now when data extraction and upload is happening, you are already establishing the ownership of the data. So that's my simple checklist, Jacob.
Absolutely. Thank you, Feroz, for that checklist. And I think that's going to be really helpful to give people an overview. And as we prompted on the screen, you feel free to screenshot that, take that, and utilize that as a checklist in your own journeys as well. So moving on to the next big topic in data migration and linking in nicely from the last slide, we're going to talk about the importance of master data governance. It doesn't sound like the most exciting topic, but a very important one. I feel like the word governance in master data is often a misunderstood buzzword that's kind of thrown around there in and amongst management, migrations, cleansing, all that kind of stuff. But Feroz, what does it truly mean, and why is it so important in a business's master data landscape?
Yeah, again, a very interesting topic, Jacob. Let me get some facts first. So if you just move on to the next slide, Jacob, let me just probably clarify some of the myths around master data governance. Again, time and again, I say in projects, you've gone into the market, you're doing an S4 transformation project, you've gone into the market and bought some ETL tools, got some scripting tools. You think you have got a data governance tool in place. No, ETL tools are not data governance tool. You need to have a proper MDM tool to do your data governance. ETL tool is only going to help you with the data transformation and data uploads. Scripting tools to an extent helps you with just the load of the data, nothing more than that. Again, the issue I've seen with businesses who are especially on S4 transformation, they think they have done the data cleanse, they have the ETL tool in place, they have uploaded the data, and they don't feel an importance of putting data governance in. We all know you clean the data, you put it into SAP without a data governance. I can almost guarantee within a week the data could be corrupted because there is no governance around it. So no matter how much efforts you have put in to cleanse the data, it's going to get corrupted. Yeah, within a matter of days and weeks and months. So absolutely, you need a data governance in place. And it's hard to trust the data without any data governance. We all know that. I don't need to say this. And especially now with a lot of emphasis on AI coming in, I think we all know the importance of the good data. So again, I don't need to tell everyone in here what data governance is. I've tried to break it down in a very simple terms. What data governance to me is all about data quality. If you don't have a good quality data, you can't take good decisions, and there are tons of things that could go wrong. We have already covered in previous webinars, what could go wrong. So data quality. Why I need data governance is to have a data quality, data ownership as well. Yes, you might say, I've got a tool that ensures data quality, but then that's not sustainable unless you push the ownership of the data. And now, without a data governance in place, you cannot push data ownership. So with data governance, with data MDM tool, you will be able to have a data ownership. You want your business to own the data. You don't want IT to, or you don't want your MDM tool to own the data, because that's not scalable for long term. That's not good. Data security, again, very important. If you have Excel, you think you have data ownership. If you have SharePoints, if you have some other scripting tools, you think you're gonna have data security. No, I mean, you need a proper tool to have data security. Data availability is again an important topic. You need to have the data available at the right time, at the right place. It should be accessible to everything, not just to IT. I should be able to look up to my data. I should be able to raise a request. I should be able to raise a request to change, create new. It should be easily accessible to my business. However, the one important area where everybody ignores, and which is not there as part of the traditional governance strategy, is about speed, automation, and AI. I think this should be one of the pillars. That's my personal view. I strongly believe that automation and speed and AI should be a part of your governance strategy going forward. AI, we all know it's important. So try and see where AI can help you with your data governance. Automation, speed, having time to market the product is equally important. Not just having the right data, but the speed at which you make it available to your customers, to your internal customers, to your productions planning systems and everything around your SAP ecosystem is equally important as well. And volumes, your tool should be able to process the volume in the matter of minutes and seconds, rather than the traditional SAP jobs running overnight to create few hundred records. So that's not sustainable. So all your future roadmaps for data governance should also include AI automation as one of the pillars.
Absolutely. Thank you, Feroz. That was really good, and good to understand a bit from governance from your side as an industry expert, and cover a few common red flags that we do come across in people setting up a governance process or thinking they are. So as a recap there, things to think about when building a scalable governance strategy. You got to think about how that looks in your core SAP. You've got to think about putting your policies into practice across the business. How are you going to enforce those, govern those rules within the business, but also ensure people are following the strategy as the business moves along. Embedding quality and scalability without reducing delivery times and day-to-day productive jobs, and setting goals and expectations along the way as well. So as the company grows, as your data system improves, what are the goals to continue improving it, and what are the expectations of, one, any systems involved, and two, any individuals or stakeholders involved as well. On top of that, as Feroz touched upon, just to expand, we've got to work on establishing data ownership. So that'll be your key stakeholders. So you may have numerous different master data objects in a business. You may have a material master, you may have a sales pricing, you may have an article master. All those will likely have different ownership within the business. So identifying that stakeholder is key. Establishing rules for your key data attributes. So as we said, start simple, keep it agile, aim for 80% collected from your rules and 20% for manual input. You will never be able to get entirely rid of manual input, as much as many of us have tried within the industry. Identifying integration points within external systems. So where and how they're going to connect. So whether it's by APIs, iDocs, a middleware system, whatever it may be. Something, again, Feroz touched upon, but to expand, simplifying the data language and removing SAP jargon. So all of us in the industry, customers, partners, everyone else, we get tripped up on a day-to-day basis by a new acronym in SAP. I find, remove that, make it relatable to your business, your users, and your data team will be able to work more effectively. And again, include compliance as part of your governance roadmap to ensure kind of regular compliance checks within the company. And again, as Feroz touched upon, look for automation areas where possible. So whether that's from APIs, bots, AI, get your data right, get them automated, and that can support your overall data journey. And as Feroz touched upon, your data governance. Jumping ahead. So we've laid out a couple of actionable steps that businesses can take from the back of this webinar around where your strategy is then going to meet your execution. So number one is to choose and focus on your critical master data objects. Which ones are the most important to you? Which ones do you have the highest volumes of? Work your way down that list. Choose the right MDM tool, which is scalable. So Excel and scripting tools will not work. We're not here to tell you to choose any of our MDM tools, but choose the one which is right for your business, whether that's ours or another. You got to define your data ownership. And like I touched upon in the last 2 slides ago, you've got to choose your stakeholders across the different areas of the business. Define your data rules and your data policies to ensure that no one can go off track if you have knowledge transfers within the business, whatever it may. If you have new employees within the business, that can't go off track, your data doesn't change, and the rules and policies are followed. Look for automation opportunities, and most importantly that I find is keep the data agile, able to be scaled, able to be changed, and find a tool and process that suits that journey and fits you along the way. So as we're coming towards the end, you have done the groundwork. Those of you who've attended all 3 webinars, or those who haven't attended all 3 and just attended one, you have hopefully understood the challenges that you can see, and you can also see the opportunities that improving your overall data can do for your business. So the only thing left to do is start to apply it to your world in real life. So take the final step with us. We are going to provide a one-to-one master data readiness workshop. If you scan the QR code on the screen, you'll be able to see some more detail about what's actually going to be covered in this master data readiness workshop. But you're also going to be able to, just on that same link, book in an initial meeting ahead of time and start blocking your time slots in and taking that first step in your journey. So I hope a few of you do take us up on that offer, and hopefully we can continue to help you moving forward. Is there any closing comments from yourself, Feroz?
No, nothing. I think lack of questions to me say that you have been able to explain it very well, Jacob. So I get everybody who's present on this webinar understood the message we're trying to convey here. And the topic itself is not very interesting to some, and we need to try and make it interesting. So yeah, hope people saw value in this.
Well, thank you, everybody, and we shall see you all in the next webinar series. And if there's any questions, please do reach out.